Kansas City Royals have risen from the dead. As it turns out, their season wasn't quite over the last time we talked. They're back in action as we speak. This is definitely not another live edition of the One World Away podcast. Let's talk about it.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Back like we never left. Jordan Foote, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser here on the One World Away podcast, presented by KC Sports Network and our good friends at Emprise Bank, member FDIC. Our partners in possible, my partners in possible here, Josh and Joel. Fellas, excited for another show. We'll go to the left box. I think that we've neglected Joel a little bit on the intro lately. Joel, what's up?
Doing good, man. It's been a good week. The Royals are back to their winning ways. Full slate of football all weekend. It was an awesome time. I was locked into Red Zone all day watching some very mediocre football for 7 hours.
Josh,
that Sunday slate was brutal. It was not a fun Sunday slate,
but it was. That's why Red Zone is beautiful, because
you let off with some heavy hitters.
Yeah, well, that, but also like you only see the good parts. You don't have to watch the disasters that happen in between. So it was like the perfect viewing experience for bad football, because we weren't subjected to just the bad football.
Yeah, no,
right.
I did.
The 7-hour slot was just a bunch of action.
Yes, I did absolutely terrible with my betting. I lost a lot of money, but unlike me, you guys have a chance to make some money, and you don't even have to put anything up at risk. If you would like an extra $500, go to bluewirepods.com/survey and complete the Blue Wire audience survey about you, your podcast listening habits, for a chance to win a big $500 gift card. The survey is going to help us. It's going to help you. It's going to help the experience for audiences, in turn help the show. bluewirepods.com/survey. All you have to do, answer the simple questions, get a chance to win $500, read the full terms and disclaimer, and complete the survey for a chance to win. bluewirepods.com/survey. Link is in the show notes of this show. So extremely excited for that. If you do want to jump in the conversation and you're not listening live, you can do so via the KCSN hotline, powered by Mint Mobile at 913-407-6524. Again, that's 913-407-6524 for questions, comments, concerns, jokes, serious observations, takes, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, all that good stuff. And then also talking about the show. So, fellas, the Royals are 4-2 since the last time we talked, if we're including that Tuesday game against Cleveland where they lost and they rattled off 4 in a row. A certain somebody predicted that they were going to win a couple games, just not to, break my own arm, patting myself on the back, but any individual performances, guys. I have quite a few, but Josh, wanted to open up the floor to you first and see if you had anything that jumped out.
Well, I've got 2, including tonight. Seth Lugo is back to monster status. He is back to dominating. Man. Just crazy good. And that was absolutely clutch to come up and do it tonight against a lineup that is stacked. I mean, they brought out their A team, rolled it out, and he just mowing through those dudes. I think he's got 3 hits against the Yankees tonight on Tuesday. So take a bow.
Singles
Seth
too.
Lugo,
it was nothing major either.
Yep. Soto hit one a bit harder, but it wasn't anything, nothing too serious there. But the other one is that on the 7th, it was the Alec Marsh start with the Daniel Lynch backup. It was kind of like a 8-inning, 2-earned run, 5 hits. 9 strikeouts between those guys and 0 walks. That was a great start. I love stacking those 2 specifically because they both bring completely different things to the table. I think I talked about on 8-10 this week, but having Lynch as that multi-inning guy that can go 3, maybe 4 if he's rolling. It is, a good thing to have, especially if you're needing a little insurance for 5 spot in the rotation coming up. So Daniel Lynch got a role for you, and it's going really well for him right now.
Yep. Joel?
I think my biggest, I don't know if it was necessarily an individual takeaway. Even though the game notwithstanding last night, what Salvador Perez, 4 for 4, 3 RBIs, a home run, and then tonight, 2 hits, 2 RBIs, got his 100th RBI tonight. Just he's been on one of those heaters, and it hasn't even been like a home run heater, but he's been hitting the ball really well recently. But my biggest performance was the game on Saturday. Felt like that's a game the Royals have lost most of the year, where they just can't get it going, and it's just one of those nights. And then inexplicably, Bailey Ober, who the Royals have killed in his career, like 7.5 ERA, goes out and just shoves like seven innings, 1 hit, faced the minimum from the 3rd to the 7th. Like I was like, good Lord, this is going quick. I might actually get home, at a decent time. I was there for media. And then they brought in Joan Duran, and they just started stringing hits together. Like it was one of those like 2014 Royals Devil Magic type innings where just single, and it's a weird like 50 hopper by Tommy Pham, bad throw, tie game. And it felt like one of those games, and this is a little bit of a cross sport analogy, and I know Jordan might appreciate this. It's like when the peak Golden State Warriors were like down 12 and like playing like, it was like, this is kind of a weird night. And they just hit a float, and they're up 8 in like
third quarter dubs. They were freaking ridiculous. Sorry. They were unreal.
And they'd be down 12 in the 3rd, and by the start of the 4th, they're up 8. You're just like, what happened?
Yeah.
That's how because it happened so fast. And then Erceg comes in and just shoves it for the 9th inning. And you get a win in a game that you haven't had in quite a while. Felt like they really exercised some demons. The game on Wednesday as well. It felt like they just needed a moment, right? Like that was how that 7-game losing streak felt. They couldn't get that one big hit to like jolt the offense. Tommy Pham gets the 3-run homer. Felt like that was the thing that kind of got them going again. And they've been pretty solid ever since.
Yeah. No, I had Tommy Pham highlighted back-to-back days. I guess back-to-back games, rather. The 3 RBIs on the home run and then a couple hits in the next game against Minnesota. He's been productive. I believe has another. Well. Yeah. He has a home run RBI on Tuesday, so he's been exactly what they brought him in to be, if not even more than that. So far, that made dumb people like me who were like, okay, whatever, it's not going to make a big difference. He has made a big difference. So that is why I'm not running a front office. I think I guess that would have been Friday when MacArthur, Long, and Schreiber had 3 innings, no hits, 4 strikeouts to seal a game that was 5-zip. And then I have MacArthur underlined again because on Monday he was not good against the Yankees, but Josh was good enough to tweet out that he has been playing really good ball outside of that for a while. So I think that he was due for a few of those, hits and runs, just not all at once. It should have just been in that stretch where he was going absolutely bonkers. Then Chris Stratton had a very ungood game on Monday, and I think that's kind of been the encapsulation and run of the mill for him. So a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. The Royals did bring up Hunter Renfroe, Steven Cruz option back, Dan Altavilla got DFA'd, cleared waivers back to Omaha. We kind of expected that when we talked on Tuesday. And then Josh Taylor beginning a rehab assignment in Northwest Arkansas. And I think that Annie's updates, and she does great work for MLB.com, was that they wanted to just get him back on the mound at some point. And we all agreed, guys, that we don't expect him to do much. So on the transaction front, after a very, very busy up and down injury related week, Joel, they kind of slowed down a little bit and could catch their breath.
Yeah, it slowed down quite a bit. I was there on Saturday when it was announced that Josh Taylor was going to start his rehab, and it sounds like it's really just a day-to-day thing, see how he feels, and they hope that he can pitch for them next year. It was just about getting him back on a professional mound in affiliated ball, see how he's feeling, and then can kind of take that into next year. He's been hurt for so long that it's just about getting him on the mound and seeing where he factors in. And Q didn't rule out, like, if he's good and he feels good, like, they're not going to rule out, down the stretch, if they need someone that he can come in and pitch innings for them. They're not guaranteeing it, but they're not ruling out that possibility either.
Yeah. I don't know what else to add. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's a mathematical possibility that he factors in, but I think anyone with a brain and reasoning for what all he's been through in the timeline is not expecting much. Now, they are expecting some from Michael Lorenzen, who's working his way back from the hamstring injury, started a rehab assignment or was sent on one to Northwest Arkansas through a 44-pitch bullpen on Saturday that went well. Will Smith coming back from the back injury. The Royals are hoping he's good for the final push. Hunter Harvey, we're still kind of throwing our arms up on that one. I just think the best way to operate with him, and Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is like, don't expect him to be back. And then when and if he is, then it's a potential bonus. If, again, another caveat from the median, if he can kind of regain the form he had before he came over.
Yeah, and time's running out on that. We are coming closer and closer to the end of the season, and if he's getting set back every time he pitches a bullpen, it's pretty close to like shut down, let's see what we got next season type of territory. So I could totally see that being the case. But if not, and he is able to get healthy, he is able to throw back-to-back days, and they can use him for that postseason run for sure, because this postseason is struggling. I will say Josh Taylor threw an inning tonight. Also had a Michael Lorenzen rehab start tonight as well. Lorenzen went 1 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. It is what it is down there. But Josh Taylor threw 1 inning with 1 strikeout, no hits, no earned. So those guys both in action for Northwest Arkansas tonight. Both of them are out of the game now, but it is nice to see both of them back on the bullpen or back on the mound, and hopefully the Lorenzen specifically can get back to contributing on the major league level soon. I am interested to see what happens when he's activated.
Yes.
With that 28-man spot right now, they're carrying 15 hitters to 13 pitchers. I could totally see them wanting to be at a 14-14. At that point, who's the odd man out here? Because it's Adam Frazier hasn't played in a week. That was surprising to me.
That very well could be, because I don't see a path at this point, given that Pham has been awesome.
Yep.
Grossman has been fine. Like I could give him a postseason at bat and feel comfy. And Yuli Gurriel's sneaky been good in a limited sample.
And you need him at first base regardless. It can't be Frazier at first base over you.
Correct. Like you're gonna rotate him and Salvi at first base more often than not. So I don't see the path for postseason at bats for Adam Frazier. So he probably is the odd man out here.
So if that's the case,
that would be my guess. Because they keep bench running Dairon too. Like they're keeping Dairon around.
I mean, he's got a role. That's it.
Yes. And he, like tonight, stole second and third to manufacture a run late in the game. Like that kind of stuff matters in the postseason.
Yes, it does. I could see Stratton being that guy, the odd man out, but it kind of sticks with him and Frazier both, because they both have been here the whole time. No matter what they've been, Stratton has been eating shit. Let's just put it for what it is. He's been eating to be in the vet status in the bullpen, to be on mop-up duty. He's just been taking it. So it would suck to be pretty bittersweet for Stratton to be the guy. Frazier and neither one of them that really contributed anything. Carlos Hernandez seems to be like the flexible guy that's always like sit up, sit down, brought up, but he's been pitching well lately. So I don't know how you can keep a non-contributor in order to make room for Lorenzen and send a guy like Carlos Hernandez, who has been contributing well, down at that point. So it'll be interesting to see when Lorenzen is activated.
So I think it's probably more a conversation of when we get to the postseason, what Chris Stratton's role is going to be. And I talked about it a little bit on Twitter last night. There's a lot of people were like, how is Stratton throwing in this game? It's 4-1, or what was it, 7-4? And I was like, I mean, they probably, Ursig had gone back-to-back days. They weren't going to throw him. Bubic had thrown 2 of the previous 3. They weren't going to throw him. I think it was just a scenario where they were like, we're kind of out of our guys that we really trust to try and keep this thing close. So Stratton, you're going to eat this one, and we're going to get everybody fresh for tomorrow. And lo and behold, Chris Bubic is going tonight, and then Ursig probably right after. So it's just a scenario where I think it's just what Will Smith was doing before. And I talked about that. Like this is we don't want to throw any of our circle of trust guys right now. So you're going to go out and throw right now. This game is probably it just is what it is. And we're going to move on to tomorrow. Like that's how it seems to me. And that's obviously not going to work in the postseason, but it can get you to October, because then the bullpen's going to look a hell of a lot better in October because of the guys you're going to be able to move from the rotation and supplement with a guy like Lorenzen to the bullpen.
Yep. Yeah. No, I definitely want to talk about October configurations, and assuming that they're going to get to October and the context of how they've gotten there. All of that coming up right after a quick break.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
You know, when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you just play on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is too? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your friends with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. And if you're worried about using your own phone and bringing all your contacts, Mint Mobile has you covered, as you can bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN, the number 1RW. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN1RW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
913-407-6524. Speaking of our really good friends at Mint Mobile, that is the KCSN hotline powered by them. 913-407-6524. You can send in text, questions, comments, concerns, jokes, all that stuff. Again, 913-407-6524. Jordan Foote, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser here. So, guys, the Royals are, for all intents and purposes, I'm chalking up this as a win as we're recording Tuesday night. So they're going to get their 80th. Word. Yeah, I know. They're going to get their 80th victory of the season. The curse is not real.
How dare you?
Finishing up New York, then Pittsburgh, Detroit, San Fran, Washington, and Atlanta. Like, I think both things can be true. They're playing some decent to talented to feisty teams to end the regular season. They also know where they're going to be at this point, I think, barring a complete epic collapse. It's also nothing compared to what they just went through. So, Joel, that's kind of your I guess you guys, both of your weekly takeaways / contextual things kind of go together. Joel, why don't you kick yours off?
Yeah, so they obviously the previous week had been a really rough stretch. The Vinny injury combined with Ersig's, the throwaway, you could tell it kind of shook them for a little bit. And I kind of stepped in it last week, and it was kind of embarrassing how I acted during the podcast last week, and I apologize for that because you guys deserve better than that, frankly. Yeah, that was not good.
I love a good commitment to the bit personally, but
yeah, it was
hand up accountability. I'm also a fan of that.
Yeah,
so
that was some hand up accountability. I kind of stepped in it and I made an ass of myself. So we're moving on. It's not necessarily that they won; it was who they beat. The game against Cleveland, again, Seth Lugo was awesome. Tommy Pham gets the home run. It felt like that kind of sparked things. They dominated Minnesota. Now, Minnesota has been in a bit of a spiral for a little while, but the Royals, I think the Twins only scored 2 runs in that entire series because they shut them out on Friday, shut them out on Sunday, and then it was just the 2 runs in the 4th inning against Marsh. I think that was it. So just an unreal performance from them there. A tough one in New York, but hey, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto were kind of good, and MacArthur faced them in the 7th inning. Like, okay, they've gotten, that's happened to a lot of guys, and then Seth Lugo shoves it up there, tonight. So that's just kind of how it goes. But to get these wins against these really good teams, coming off of a brutal stretch like that really could have broken them in the worst way, and they were able to stop it before it got to that point, is massive. And like we talked about last week, even through that, the calendar is their friend because Boston didn't take advantage and Minnesota didn't take advantage. And because they didn't, and the Royals got back to winning ways, now it's even more in their favor. Like, Boston's pretty much out of it. Minnesota is, teetering. Seattle's still hanging on for dear life, but I don't think they're going to get there. Detroit is surging, but the Royals still are in a good position with them for that for it to not be a problem. Massive series coming back this time next week against Detroit, where the Royals can really put it away for them and just secure everything going into that final road trip. So a lot to like here. They bounce back in the best way. It's what they've done all year. They got through that skid and have turned it around almost a complete 180 from where we were talking last week.
Yeah, my takeaway was very similar to it, but it's more about the light being at the end of the tunnel, both of this gauntlet run that they've been on, but also the light at the end of the tunnel is there for the entire season. We only got like 3 weeks here left of regular season baseball, and then it's time to roll. But that scheduled gauntlet started back on 8/23 with the Philadelphia Phillies coming to town. At that point, the Royals were 83.1% likely to make the postseason per Fangraphs. We talked about it on here that, it would be huge for their postseason odds if they even went, 500 is all we were really asking, is just be around 500 at the end of this and you'll be in good shape. And here they are, 8-10. I'm not counting tonight, but going into the day, they're 8-10. So you got to feel pretty good about that. I think the odds were up to 94% coming into the game tonight. So things are going really well with that. And I think the Fangraphs model for postseason projections started back in 2014, and since then, any team that has had at least 90%, it was like really 82%, because the Cubs had an 81.9% chance of getting into the postseason last year on September 9th and did not make it. Mariners are right there with like 64%. So those are by far the two outliers on who, if you're more likely than not to make the postseason by this time, usually you make it. So it's still got work to do, could collapse, but here we are, talking about postseason runs, talking about clinching, talking about magic numbers for the Royals. It's just a great time. I think the postseason clinching magic number is 13, according to KC Magic Number on X. So go check them out and kind of watch the countdown as it comes. 22 for the division. Still talking about divisions, taken away from the Cleveland Guardians at this point. And we're talking about documentaries, kind of talking about that 2014. That thing dropped today. They kind of had me feeling some kind of way. So if you haven't go check that, check that out.
The length of the documentary.
Yep.
Perfect.
Nice touch. 17:38.
Beautiful
baby.
touch.
Yep. But it's just we're after week 1 of the NFL. NCAA football has kicked off, and we're still here talking about Royals postseason runs. The Royals season has mattered up to this point. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's avoid that epic collapse, finish the year like we should, and hit this postseason running. So I am jacked up about Royals baseball right now.
So assuming they do make it, even if they stumble in, like, I just think the math is very, very much on their side to make it. They're going to, even if it isn't pretty. If they do the best of 3 in that wild card series, you're thinking Cole Reagans is the ace. Do we both agree with that? Or do we have Seth Lugo coming out there?
Oh,
yeah.
I'd go Cole Reagans game 1.
I would too.
Personally.
I would too. He's your opening day guy. I think you try and make a statement with Cole Reagans. And then if you don't win that game, then you feel really good about what Seth Lugo can do in game 2 to bounce back.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot.
Because I think
Reagans is 1.
Because here's the thing, and because Josh is like cringing right now. So here's here's my logic with this. If they go Seth Lugo game 1 and they lose like 4-2 or something like that, and then you're putting all of that pressure in a must win game on Cole Reagans. I don't know how I feel about that. I think the world of him. I'm going to talk about him later, but I would much rather give the ball to a veteran that has in some capacity been there in Seth Lugo for a must-win scenario, if that's the case. Or say Cole Reagans shoves in game 1, you got a chance to win a series. I feel really good about giving the ball to Seth Lugo in that scenario too.
Yeah. I'd say the only caveat to that, and Jordan, you can get to your point, is I wonder if Q kind of looks at the matchups and sees, like, does this opposing lineup hit pitchers that are left-handed better? Or are they right-handed, or does it matter? Because that's the only thing that might be a caveat to that. But Jordan, what's your thought here?
So selfishly, I just wanted to come and get your guys' thoughts. I didn't feel too strongly about 1 or 2 there. I think number 3, Waka, we would go with him over Brady Singer. And I think Joel's talked about, and not to slight Brady Singer, but like in a must-win environment, like a big-time game or inning or leverage situation, you can like flip a coin. Be like, I don't know if Brady Singer is going to get shelled. I don't know if Brady Singer is going to, deliver a magical performance. And Waka, he's gotten around some guys getting on base. There's been a little bit of magic to what he's done since getting back from injury. But man, the second half of the year, I think he's earned it. He has the experience in the postseason as well, and on winning teams and just throughout his career. So I think he would go number 3. But then you get a good mix of a Brady Singer, an Alec Marsh, a healthy Michael Lorenzen, a Chris Bubich, a Daniel Lynch, guys that can give you some length out of the bullpen. They can give you, if you're getting further in the playoffs, they can give you some decent innings as guys there. But I think the top 3, it doesn't largely matter the order. I think the 1 and 2 you can flip flop, and then 3, I would say Michael Wacha deserves the nod there.
For some reason, I have this weird thing in the back of my head where I could see Brady Singer hitting a different gear for some reason, like in a day postseason game 4 start.
Yeah, no, he
for
absolutely.
some reason, I feel like Singer could absolutely deal, just randomly go like 8
like,
innings and be like, "What is going on?"
Well, because it shifts a little bit, because in the wild card round it's 3, maybe 4, maybe you go to 4 in the DS if you really need it, but it's probably going to stay 3. But like if it gets to that point, like I could see Brady Singer still having an impact. Like, and me talking about him going to the bullpen is not me trying to slight him at all. It's just the roster math.
No, yeah,
and that's all it boils down to. And as much as I like Brady Singer and what he's done this year, he's been far exceeded any expectation I could have had for him as the third starter, but de facto 4th on this team. Probably been the best 4th starter in baseball, if we're being honest. But in a playoff scenario, I just don't know. And because he has these outings where it is 7 shutout, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 run, and you're like, geez, Brady Singer shoved it. And then he also has those outings where it's 3 2/3, 9 hits, 6 earned, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. And you're like, I don't know. And when the margin for error is so slim, like I just,
that's my point.
That if you're the Royals, but can Michael Wacha give you 5, and then Brady Singer give you innings 6 and 7 to bridge to Bubich and Ursig in the 9th? Absolutely. And I think he could be really good in that type of role if that's where they end up going.
I'd also be curious to see what the leash is on Brady Singer if he does kind of get into jams, because it's not like they have a strong bullpen that's to bail you out in those kind of situations.
But like I mentioned before, like your bullpen does get stronger because the possibility of Lorenzen or Marsh coming out makes you feel a little bit better that you're not having to give it to a gas can like we've seen in previous. And notice how I didn't say which one.
Yeah, it's all of them.
But it's been a few from time to time. But in that scenario, like you feel a little bit better about the guys you're giving the ball to because you have a little more, like the floor is raised by those guys, not necessarily the ceiling. Like I don't think Alec Marsh or Michael Lorenzen raised the ceiling, but you feel a lot better about those guys coming in than a Chris Stratton in that spot, or even a Carlos Hernandez who's super volatile. Like I feel a lot better about that spot.
Joel, talk about Reagans. I know that he was your point, and you don't have and we don't really need to go over even the tons of numbers and all that stuff, but hitting a pretty big benchmark, and I think just kind of always worth reminding people of how good he's really been, because I know that Lugo's gotten most of the hype and well-deserved, but Cole Reagans is still pretty damn good at baseball.
He's been unbelievable over the last, pretty much this entire season. The fact that he's even lasted this long into the year, given the Royals, 167 innings, I know Josh before the year, and this is not, I'm not poking you. I'm not,
don't
put him on blast. Do
but
it.
Before the year, you did say that the guy that could disappoint or fall below expectation was Cole Reagans.
Just did.
What was do you kind of remember what you thought before the year, what he was going to do? Like say from opening day to this point, where do you think he would have fallen?
Well, the reason I said it was everybody came in with like Cy Young as aspirations of Cole Reagans. So I thought that like a 3.5 ERA was totally within the realm of possibility, if not, way more likely scenario. But I was saying disappointed in the fact that he's not that Cy Young candidate that he did turn out to be. And I said something to the effect of he could very well come out with like a 4.05 ERA and be a quote unquote disappointment because he's not a Cy Young candidate.
I thought he'd be Brady Singer. Like what Brady Singer's done this year is what I thought. They've both been very good still, but Singer 7% lower strikeout rate. The FIP is, whatever, 70 points higher. Like, still good and can still lead a rotation if the rest of you guys are doing well. But I did not necessarily expect this level of dominance. And I think that him and Lugo, again, you can flip-flop in a lot of situations. And if you're talking about the best pitcher on the Kansas City Royals staff in that rotation, I think that I personally would lean Reagans, but that's not at all an indictment on Lugo, I think.
Yeah, I think that's like, and what he's done this year, and to talk about it a little bit, 200 strikeouts on the year, 204, to be more exact. First pitcher for the Royals since Zach Greinke in 2009 when he won the Cy Young to reach that point. Only the 6th in franchise history and the first left-handed pitcher to reach 200 strikeouts in a season. And he's just still, I think, scratching the surface of what he can be. And he's been very, very good this season for the Royals. And just, I think, his maturation as a pitcher, because I don't have groundbreaking stats on what Cole Reagans has been, because the numbers kind of speak for themselves. A lot of people have talked about it. But just the last 2 starts, to me, speaks a lot about how he is as a pitcher. The start against Houston, first 5 innings, about as untouchable as he has been the entire season. 10 strikeouts in those 5 innings. Looked like, man, he's going to get you through 7 and you're on a skid, but hey, you got a chance. Like,
was that the 8 straight strikeout game?
Yes, he had 8 straight strikeouts.
Crazy. I mean, that's nuts. That's not a pitcher for the Royals. That doesn't happen.
It was special. And then the 6th inning just unraveled. And I mean, it was a disaster. Felt like he just couldn't throw anything. He could throw the rosin bag up there and still would have gotten hit in the gap. Like, that was, it just got to that point. You end up losing that game. And I'm like, man, like that's just a weird one, but still, like, you wonder what that'll do for a pitcher, like when you're that dominant and then just 1 inning gets away. And he goes out against Minnesota in a gotta have it type game, statement type game on Friday night on Apple TV. 6 shutty, only scattered 4 hits, 7 strikeouts, and was just awesome, and got the milestone of the 200 strikeouts and set the tone for the weekend. And that's why I feel so good about him in a playoff scenario in game 1. Like, I feel like he could go out there, and if he gives you 6 innings, 1 run, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, you're going to feel really good, because that's damn near the average Cole Reagans start at this point.
Yeah.
So he's been incredible this year, beyond any expectation. The fact, and just to keep talking about it because it's still incredible, to get a guy like that for half of a season of Aroldis Chapman, it's unbelievable. And he's not going to be a true Cy Young guy. He's going to get down ballot Cy Young votes. Like, I could see him being like Cy Young 7, something like that. Like, Seth Lugo probably is Cy Young 3. I could see.
It could be tough to catch Tarik Skubal.
Yeah, Skubal's got that thing locked up. He's damn near going to win the Triple Crown. But Lugo's probably going to finish 2nd or 3rd. Reagans finishes 7th. And if you want to keep going, like, I think it goes to 15 or 20. Like, Waka and Singer are going to get those down ballot votes too. And you're going to have 4 of your 5 guys, and at least 3 that are going to finish in the top 20 in Cy Young voting. It's unbelievable.
What a world. What a world we're living in right now. It's okay. Talking about expectations coming into the year. We knew that Reagans could be good. We're talking about 2 legitimate Cy Young candidates. We're talking about who's going to be the one starting game 1 in the postseason. We're talking about, this is where we are. This is how this 24 season has shaken out. It has been awesome. It has been a great ride. We see what we can capitalize and do in October and get a little frisky. Let's get a little frisky, boys. Speaking of a little frisky, let's talk about Freddie Fermin instead of Freddie Freeman. I did it right this time. I'm to the point where I hear someone else say Freddie Fermin. I was like, did he mean Freddie Freeman? But no, Freddie Fermin. We knew that this guy needed to take a step forward whenever Vinny went down this last week, including tonight. He was 4 for 14 with 4 singles, no walks, 4 strikeouts. 4 is the common number in that, which I think, I don't know, the expectations for Freddie Fermin as a backup catcher, if he's hitting around the 100 WRC plus, we're just absolutely jacked up about
if he has
that,
an
right?
80, I'm ecstatic.
100%. As an everyday catcher, with a 100 WRC plus and very little pop. Are we still as jacked up about him as we are prior to that?
Not necessarily, but he's done a job. And
He's done a job.
He's done a job. Like it,
Yep.
He was not meant to be a guy coming into the year. If you told me Freddie Fermin is playing every day or 5 days a week, I'd be like, oh God, what happened? But
what happened? What happened to Salvi? Did Salvi?
What happened to Salvi? But to, essentially make himself, hey, you have to put me in the lineup 5 days a week at the bottom of the order. I think that says a lot about what he's been able to do and what he has meant to this team. And he's been steady. Like you kind of know what you're going to get.
Steady
and
Freddie.
Good game.
Having that known commodity matters. Like that's why I'm cool with him being in the lineup, because he's just like said, steady Freddie. That's just what he has been. It's not always the sexiest thing on the planet. His at-bats aren't always awesome, but the dude's just going to put the ball in play. He's going to be a really good defensive catcher, and he's just going to man the post. And I think that ultimately matters.
And I think that prior to the injury, it really went a long ways to being able to rotate him, Vinny, and Salvi around so frequently and still be like pretty confident that you're going to get some pretty solid production at and behind the plate. I think that was huge going into the year, but this is where Freddie Fermin starts to make hay. I think this is where you really want to see him show up, even if he is down at the bottom of the order. If he's sitting around like a 1-for-4 game with a strikeout and maybe a walk, then you're going to take that 9 times out of 10. But he's been in the lineups, played in 8 games, including tonight. Out of the 11 games since Vinny went down, his OPS coming in tonight was 525 with 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. The metrics aren't great. He does not hit the ball hard. I think the most similar hitters to him are Lenin Sosa, Jared Triolo, Oswaldo Cabrera, and Blake Perkins. And most of there's only 2 guys above like a 70 WRC plus out of those guys, and it's Fermin and Perkins. And Fermin is at the top with like 100. So it's a good thing that they have him as a backup catcher, and that's a known commodity, like you said, Steady Eddie. I think that's huge, and as long as we keep rolling with that, we're in good shape. But I would like to see a little bit more hard contact out of him down the stretch here.
A player I simultaneously have so many thoughts, but also no thoughts at all.
I want to know all of them, every one of them.
Daniel Lynch, and I'm going to preface this the same way I did Chris Bubich about 3 weeks ago. The sample size is not very expansive. It's 7 2/3 innings since he's been back. And I reserve the right to change my opinion when given new information. So I also kind of jinxed Bubich. He had a couple not so great outings after I talked about him on the podcast. With all that said, Lynch was okay in Omaha. I wouldn't say he was good. I would not say he was bad. Pitched a ton of innings, like 119, 120, 3.5 ERA. I think the FIP was like 100 points higher than that. So kind of take what you can get there. He has made significant changes from when he was with the team early in the year to since he's come back. That's also coincided with him being a starter and building as a starter versus being a bullpen arm. So here is everything that has happened differently. And in 7 2/3, he gave up 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. So that will absolutely and obviously play. The fastball, he's went from using 43% in the first stint to 24. The velo is up 1.5 miles per hour, comparing those 2 sample sizes, getting a little bit more horizontal movement on it. Opponents are hitting 220 against that pitch. The sinker is up 13% from sample 1 to sample 2. The velo is up over a mile per hour, getting more movement on that. The slider is up 15%. The velo, again, is up 1 mile an hour. Fangraphs hated it to begin the year. Now they just think it's an okay pitch. Opponents are hitting 111 against that. The changeup, he hasn't thrown it as much. It was absolutely not working whatsoever for him early in the year. Again, it went from the value clear in the negative to just a neutral type pitch by their tracking. So the first stint versus the second stint, exit velo's down. The barrel rate is way down. Ground ball rate is way up. Hard contact rate way down. Outside of the zone, swing percentage is up. The contact percentage on those pitches is way down. The swinging strike rate is almost double. So, long road to a short thought here. Going to the 4-seamer less has helped him going more sinker slider has helped him. The ability to tweak the movement and add velo has helped. And I think that coincides directly with going down to Omaha and getting some more maybe individualized and less pressurized instruction, perhaps, on all of his offerings. The changeup has been far less unplayable. I don't even want to call it more playable. It's just been less bad over the course of the year. Yeah.
Not gooder.
Yes,
gooder,
absolutely.
Just less bad.
There is a path for him, I think, as a reliever, because he's made movement changes. He's made profile changes. He's added velo. I think the confidence is better. So I'm still not sold completely, just as I was with Bubic, and Bubic has been a little bit up and down, but I trust him generally now.
He was
Daniel
really
Lynch
good tonight.
Yes, if there's a door on the outside of the circle of trust, Daniel Lynch is like knocking on it. I think that he was, in the moat that was dug around the circle for a while. Now he's back up to the door, to the gate, knocking on it. There is a chance that this saves his career, and I don't even want to be hyperbolic, but I think this is what takes you from a quad A guy that sometimes gives you an okay start, but most of the time isn't good, to someone that can help a bullpen. So early, again, could all go to crap, but I think with a full winter of potentially knowing this is what you're going to do heading into 25, that could be a saving grace for one Daniel Lynch.
I mean, I talked about it in June when he had that blow up spot start against the Mariners where he had like 8 runs in the first inning and it was just a disaster. And I was like, is this guy even going to pitch in the big leagues again? Like, I thought that was on the table.
He was done.
I mean,
he was done.
Nothing in his career.
You said we would never see him in a Royals uniform.
I know. That's what I thought. I thought it was at least on the board, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He came back, and I think it was that one of those first outings against the Guardians. I was like, oh, hey, that's a little different. That's interesting. Yep. And then I was at the game on Saturday. I see him run out of the bullpen. I'm like, still kind of Schrodinger's cat. Like, I don't exactly know what's going to happen. But I was like, damn, okay. Like, there's something there.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what that something is yet, but the early returns have been legitimately impressive. So I'm curious if, kind of like Chris Bubic, like ultimately his path is being a reliever, which is a solid outcome in modern baseball. I know it's like the failed starter joke, but with the way bullpens are utilized and maximized now, like becoming a reliever is not a negative outcome based on where you were drafted. Like, it's fine. So if that's the path for the Royals to keep him around and utilize him out of the bullpen moving forward with him and Bubic, I mean, that's solid, man. Like, and I hope that happens for him, because by all accounts, he's a really good dude and he works hard. So like, this isn't for none of this has been for lack of trying on his part. It just didn't work. But maybe a full-time move to the bullpen is what it takes for Daniel Lynch to be a viable big leaguer long-term.
Can you imagine a rotation where it's Reagan's, Lugo, and then hopefully Waka is back, or maybe Singer, but then you throw Alec Marsh in that 4 spot, piggyback him with Chris Bubic for a couple innings, and then see where you're at, and then do the same with like Kyle Wright for that 5-man spot, and then do the same thing with Lynch. I mean, that is
that being a scenario. Yeah,
that's a fun like servicing of a bullpen. I am interested in that role for both him and Bubic. And if that's not the case, if it's not a multi-inning role, then let's see what they can do in single spurts with the off season to kind of lean into that a little bit more. So I am all in on this Daniel Lynch to the bullpen narrative, rebound narrative. I'm into it a lot.
If he gets, because I think at this point he's played his way onto the postseason roster.
Yeah.
I think he's shown enough that he can be that guy. What's his role? Like, where are you comfortable giving him the ball?
The one thing I neglected was splits for him this year. I haven't even looked at him.
I'll pull that up. Hold on.
Yeah, I figured that would be like the next logical progression, I assume, for him.
With his repertoire, you almost think that he'd be really good against lefties. And I mean, the changeup is good. The sinker is good. I feel like he should be able to hang with righties plenty. So if there's a situation where you need a clean inning with 2 lefties coming up, then I would give him the lefty. I would give him that kind of inning.
Yeah. So this year, righties slashing 256, 330, 537 for an 866.
Okay.
Lefties. Now, it's a small sample, because it's only 28 at bats or 34 plate appearances because teams just throw all righties out at him.
Mhm.
Lefties are slashing 071, 177, 071.
Gotcha.
Okay. 48 OPS.
So that'll play, obviously.
That will play. Like, I think like you said, with his repertoire, it's probably a sixth inning or a seventh inning with 2 lefties coming up. Yep. And you pray that he gets through the righty. Like, that's probably what it is. Bubic, I feel low-key kind of comfortable with him lefty or righty. Like, I don't think you need to match up him as much because the way his stuff kind of plays that he can go into righties a little bit. But yeah, I think that's probably the scenario. Or if, like, I don't know, Waka gets blown up in the 3rd or the 4th and you need 3 innings, like, I think you could probably go to Lynch for that type of scenario too. But like I said, I think he's really played himself into the roster, which also weird. He has reverse splits home and away. He's giving up, dudes are hitting 230, 326, 446 at the K. Away, 167, 205, 361. It's weird, but okay.
All right, let's jump ahead. We spent a lot of time on this week. So wrapping up the Yankees series on Wednesday on Amazon Prime Video with Cole Reagans on the mound. Then Pittsburgh, 3-game set there, and then Detroit. I think that is going to be a pretty splendid week for the Royals, and that's my bet. The Royals will take at least 2 of 3 from Pittsburgh. I said they were going to take at least 3 of 5 before the next recording last week. They won 4 of them, so back to 500 for the year on my bet. Josh, you had to make an edit mid-pod, and I'm not gonna.
I don't know what
steal your thunder.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I came into this game thinking the Yankees were going to completely sweep the Royals, and now I have to amend that to the Yankees take 2 of 3 from the Royals, and then somehow that still buries Bobby Witt Jr. beneath Aaron Judge in the AL MVP race, it's finally getting spotlit. There's getting plenty of run with this series.
Aaron Judge is minus 3,000. Like, he's already buried, unfortunately.
Isn't
That's so
bad?
stupid.
Yes.
Holy
I checked a
shit,
certain gambling app earlier today.
No free ads.
And he was no free ads. And yeah, he's minus 3,000. Bobby Witt Jr. is plus 1,100. Like, it's done. It was done once Aaron Judge got to 45 homers. Like that, it's just way it is. Aaron Judge plays for the New York Yankees and he hits a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
Home runs go Burr, Yankee pinstripes go Burr, and Aaron Judge is going to win another MVP. And Bobby Witt Jr. is going to have the best season to not win MVP in baseball history.
Probably.
I need to watch that video you sent.
It's so good. Okay, so
shout out Jay.
I will shout out other content because I think it's really good. The Baseball is Dead podcast with Derek Garabas, Dallas Braden, Justin Havens, and Joey from Baseball Doesn't Exist on YouTube, which is another hilarious channel if you need to check that out. Justin Havens is like the stat nerd on the podcast, and he does these little narrative videos every once in a while. And he just did a little 5-minute video about the season Bobby Witt Jr. is having and how it will likely go down as the best non-MVP season in baseball history.
And here we are with that narrative. And I think it was really I'm glad that there was some light shed on that with the Royals going to the Yankees at this time of year with the two doing what they're currently doing. I'm glad that there was some attention paid to it, even if it is a lost cause. So I would still bet against the Royals tomorrow because I'm Captain Fade. It's happening. And I think that Aaron Judge probably hits a home run tomorrow just to put a stamp on it.
Joel, what you got? You're the opposite of Captain Fade for one particular player.
Yeah, I'm going with Lucas Erceg over 1.5 saves over the next before we talk.
I like that.
I mean, I could see a scenario where because it's Reagan's tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I could see a scenario where where you're able to steal one. If you steal that series in the Bronx, like whoo, and the Pirates are bad, so they're going to get at least one of those. And by the way, if you're able to watch, however, Paul Skeens is going to throw on Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to be appointment television anyways. But that guy is special. And if the Royals lose that game and Paul Skeens goes nuts, I'm like, okay. Like, that's just kind of what this guy does. But that's going to be one
on the Royals side. Is that Singer?
I think it's Singer. Yeah, Singer Skeens.
Okay.
Yep.
That'll be a fun one. Regardless, like watching Paul Skeens pitch is so fun.
Yeah. So good.
But yeah, but I'm going back. But I think Ursig is going to get at least 2 saves in the next few games.
Okay.
All right, let's cap it off with some minor league talk. Omaha
Hyperdrive.
33-30 in the second half, already clinched a playoff spot with the fantastic first half they had. Columbus is leading the International League in the second half, potentially setting up a Cleveland versus Kansas City affiliate matchup in the semifinals, which would be fun. Couple weeks left in their season. Tyler Tolbert was promoted to Omaha. Austin Nola cleared waivers, sent back to Omaha, and Chris Brito was sent to Northwest Arkansas. So we're kind of switching it up this week now that some seasons are either ending or soon ending, and bringing up a couple players per that either jumped on our radar that weren't really coming into the year, or fell off the radar because they just didn't have that good of a season. So Josh, why don't you kick us off?
I think the low-hanging fruit is probably Noah Cameron. Starting out the year in Double-A, coming into the year, I think all of us were he was on our radars, but I don't think any of us had any kind of big hopes and dreams on Noah Cameron. Yep. But he is absolutely shoved this year in both Double-A, and he was promoted to Triple-A, and even better. So coming into the year, he was like 5.28 ERA and high A in Double-A last year, 20.8% in K- walk rate. The whip was not great in 24 starts. This year, between Double-A and Triple-A, a 3.26 ERA. K to walk is about the same, but the whip is really, really nice. But in Omaha, I think it's like 12 starts, 2.64 ERA at a 0.99 whip, a 24.9 K- walk rate. He got a 32.4% whiff rate, which is the 84th percentile with as many pitches as he's thrown. His average exit velocity, boys, is 83.8 against.
That's nuts.
8 miles per hour. That is in the 98th percentile in Triple-A. Mm-hmm. And he is 24 years old, I believe. That is huge. That is a big deal. So if he can continue this, it is a big jump in this farm system, especially in the starting pitching market. If he can be an absolute usable starter from the left hand, that would be huge for Noah Cameron. But falling off the radar, it's been a great run, Nick Prado. I really had lot of hopes in you. It has. It was great to kind of have the low and then a really big high, and then we're kind of back in the low. He's kind of got stuck there in Triple-A. So unfortunately, I'm not really considering him much more than organizational depth at this point. Slash at 241, 327, and 405. Okay, but the expected slash is 219, 309, and 334. Whiffing too much, not barreling the ball up. The exit velocity is not good. I think the ship has sailed on Nick Prado.
Joel, who you got?
Similar. So on my radar now, I included him with AAA because that's the current team he is on. Anthony Simonelli spent most of his year in Double-A, got up to AAA. Hasn't been as good, but I'm going to talk about the full year. In 67 and a third innings this year out of the bullpen, 82 strikeouts to 27 walks. It looks like the fastball reaches around 94, kind of manipulates its sink cut with a slider. Just an interesting guy to kind of keep an eye on for next year as maybe in a pinch, because I think the stuff is good enough. But just a guy that kind of popped up. He was a 16th round pick a few years ago in 2021. So not a huge, big name guy, but had a really solid year and deserves the praise for it. Off my radar, kind of like Josh and kind of along that same vein, Drew Waters. Now, 280, 369, 468, 117 WRC plus a AAA, nothing to sneeze at, but he was there all year. And there was a ton of inconsistency in the outfield. MJ really struggled. Kyle Isbell, he's out there for his defense, can't hit worth a lick most days. Garrett Hampson's getting at bats. Hunter Renfroe's been up and down. Like, there was opportunities to call him up and maybe he could be the spark, and he got 19 plate appearances. I think it's done. Like, I think the experiment is kind of done with Drew Waters, and he's org depth, or he's going to be in another organization next year. I don't think that the big league career of Drew Waters is done, but I just don't think it's going to be in Kansas City. He could be a trade candidate for a bag of balls and a Mountain Dew and go on to.
Man, a Mountain Dew sounds good.
No free ads.
No free
No
ads.
free
Oh,
ads.
yeah, no free ads. Unless I've got John Rave on my
We're on
radar.
Mountain Dew's
and-
radar.
Yes. I feel like we've talked about John Rave quite a few times over the past
Yes.
month or two. He's not really like a prospect. Like he turns 27 in December. He's not on the
Mhm.
pipeline list. Last year didn't handle the jump to AAA at all in the sample size that he had, but did increase the slugging percentage. He has almost 3 times as many home runs. He has 3 times as many stolen bases. The walk rate is still good. The strikeout rate went down 5%. The BABIP is a little bit lower, so it's not like he's getting lucky. The WRC plus from 76 to 113. So, the way we talk about a Drew Waters, and Nelson Velasquez, a Nick Prado, that's going to be John Rave next year. Okay, well, this guy got hurt. This guy can't be there. What can we do with him? And that's a perfect segue to the guy that we did that with this year, Nelson Velasquez. Turns 26 in December, so he's not old or washed up or over the hill by any means, or there isn't still a possibility of him figuring it out. But this year in AAA, hit 228 in 48 games. Walk rate was 15%, really healthy. The strikeout rate was only 20, so nothing too insane. 90 WRC plus. He only had 4 home runs, so the power was not there for him whatsoever. I think that it's kind of in a similar vein as Nick Prado. That's probably pretty much over, and maybe he gets some reps, maybe you work out a trade, something like that. So John Rave, kudos to you. Nelson Velasquez, I'm sorry, but falling off the radar.
You gotta buy stock in one of Tyler Gentry, John Rave, Nelson Velasquez, and Drew Waters to contribute on the Royals team next year. Who are you buying stock in those 4 guys? Only get one.
Nelson Velasquez. It's not
Okay.
really like much of a question. I will say this though. I want to see John Rave in the big leagues next year. Like, I just want to know. It's kind of like the CJ Alexander thing. Where like I just want to see
Gentry
it.
thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, I kind of was out on Tyler Gentry. I'm
Sure.
glad he got his opportunity, but
Did you say contribute or help? Because those are 2 different things, I think.
Are they?
You can contribute and be bad, but you can help. You have to have like a good connotation.
Who's got the best F4?
I think it's Nelly.
John Rave.
Well, I guess
Rave
if you
too.
want to add an F4, defense kind of matters.
That's it.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
I don't
think
even
he's got
know. Go ahead.
If something happens to Isbell, I think John Rave is, I mean, depending on what Garrett Hampson's life
Sure.
happens after the season, but as far as it goes, I could see John Rave being that number 2 center fielder potentially.
I could see that. Like I
And
think
playing well.
I think in second go round to AAA, he showed enough that I think he could hold his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to snake draft this for AA, who
Mhm.
is in the final week, officially eliminated from the postseason. They did place Peyton Wilson on the 7-day IL, and Asbel Gonzalez got promoted from the complex. So significant jump there on my radar, just because I didn't really have too many thoughts on this guy coming into the year. I know that most did, and it was a very polarizing conversation. So I'm kind of cheating, but Gavin Cross, you are officially back on the radar. I'm still only 23 years old. 770 OPS in AA this year, 115 WRC plus, 30 stolen bases, double-digit walk rate, 15 home runs. He wasn't great in the month of August. He hit just under 200 with 91 WRC plus. I just saw your guys' message in the group chat. I noticed that coming into the show. They have duplicates for people behind the curtain here. I think Gavin Cross has done enough to resurrect his status, at least most of the way. I don't think that he's back as this can't miss prospect when they first brought him in and all the virus happened and all that good stuff. But kudos to him. And then Ben Kudrna, very interesting parallel to last season. He was good in A ball, really struggled in high A once he got promoted. He was awesome in high A this year, has not been good in double A. Last 3 starts, 14 innings, 23 hits, 14 earned, 4 home runs, 8 walks to 9 strikeouts. And he started off fine. I was like, man, Ben Kudrna isn't really getting hit around as much as I expected him to. He's only 21 years old. He'll be 22 to start next season. I'm not worried about him. I think this was me just needing a spot. And then Ben Kudrna, I am confident he's going to be back on my radar. But as of right now, I had to pick somebody, and we already had a duplicate. So that's my pick.
Joel, since you were the first one to fill it out, I did look at Coonerty too, but the age thing kind of kept me from picking him. So I was like, can't be off my radar.
So yeah, Josh. So Josh and I have the same hitter and pitcher.
Mhm.
Are you cool if I talk about the pitcher? If you talk about the hitter, we'll just attack it that way.
And I'll just stamp on if I can.
Okay, good enough. So my on the radar guy is Steven Zobak. A guy kind of like Noah Cameron. Like I had the same sort of vibe. Like I don't know what this guy is going to be. It seems like he might be pretty good. College pitcher, high floor, decent stuff. Like I'm not 100% sure what he's going to be, but we'll see. But he goes to high A and shoves, and then he goes to Northwest Arkansas AA, the biggest jump as we've talked about, and he got better. The strikeouts to walks got better. The ERA dropped, the whip dropped, the hits per nine dropped. He's been incredibly impressive. 120 strikeouts and 121 and 2/3 innings, only 28 walks, only gave up 7 home runs. Now that to me is super impressive to not, to have that type of stuff and not give up the home run. Hasn't really given up home runs much at all in his career. That's a really impressive thing for him to be able to do in modern baseball. I'm not sold he's a starter, but I do 100% believe he is a big league pitcher, and he probably could flirt with it by next year. And with his kind of sinker slider combo that he throws, could be a really, really damn good reliever for this team as early as next year. I'm really, really high on Steven Zobak. Off the radar for me is Peyton Wilson. I was always kind of like intrigued by him, like the idea of him, because they got him as a draft eligible sophomore. And I'm like, oh, that you're taking kind of a chance, kind of high ceiling guy. And he was pretty good at high A in 2022, the second go round of AA. He just has not been the same. The power's come, but the strikeout rate has, raised. The batting average is way down, along with the slug and the OBP, even with an increase in home runs, double what he had last year. I just think he's probably more depth, like a switch hitting guy that can play a little outfield, play a little infield. They'll probably just send him to AAA next year and just kind of see what happens. But he's not a prospect to me at this point, but if he makes a big league debut, good for him, but I'm not going to count on it at this point.
And that's a dude that came from the SEC, like a sophomore.
He was at Arkansas, I think. Yeah,
he was an SEC.
No, Alabama. He was in Alabama.
Yeah, he's Bama. That's a dude that you would expect to be a little bit more advanced, even if you did get him in comp B, comp C. He was the pick right before the Carter Jensen pick.
Yeah,
kind of sandwiched between him and was it Coonerty?
Yeah, it was sandwiched between him and Coonerty.
I think so. Yeah.
So it might have been he was at slot. He signed for slot, so it wasn't really saving money at that point. You really thought you were turning into something that wasn't a soft hitting on base utility type, which is what I kind of thought and what it sounded like to me, what he was coming out. So the power has come a little bit more, 14 home runs, like Joel said, 22 bags stolen, but he's 24. I mean, he was 20 years old. I mean, with where
Something's
he should be and where he is now, I just don't. He was never really high on my radar, but I was still kind of keeping an eye on him. But I don't know if I'm doing that anymore. So I'm right there with you both. Zobak, I like the floor quite a bit on him.
100%.
Joel, you mentioned him. Like there is a major league player in there, I think, and depending on what his role is, that's really what we have to see. But it is kind of fun to see him come out of nowhere, more or less. 4th round pick in 2022, 23 years old in AA. So relatively nowhere, but it is fun to see him kind of pop up on radars now.
Josh, who you got for High A, who clinched a postseason berth on Wednesday?
Playing a postseason game tonight.
Yeah, lost 1-0.
That's
so they did go down, but it is what it is. But I think the big one is the hottest hitter in baseball on the globe.
All of baseball, affiliated baseball.
Eat your shorts, Aaron Judge. Here comes Spencer Nivens out of Missouri State, round 5 pick in 2023. Slow start from 531. He had slides 133, 283, 213, striking out at a 35% rate. But since June 1st, slashing 282, 358, 560, 25% K rate, and a 10% walk rate. If he is the Carson Rocafort trajectory, maybe that could absolutely be a thing. I don't think any of us saw Spencer Nivens being this Spencer Nivens, but boy, did he open up some eyes, especially here in August as the hottest hitter on the planet. So shout out to Spencer Nivens. Can't see what you got next year, and hopefully we'll see it at a higher level soon. Falling off my radar, not really high on it anyway. Shane Panzini is part of the triple prep pitcher class that they pulled out. I was kind of leaving light on for him a little bit. I wanted to see all three of those prep guys become something. Started the season as a starting pitcher. He went 6.34 ERA with a 1.74 WHIP. Not great. And then they turned him into a multi-inning relief pitcher and a little bit better, but still not what you want to see from Shane Panzini. So I think I'm going to go ahead and turn the light off and go to bed. And maybe you give me a reason to turn back on next year, Shane. I'm never gonna quit you, but right now we're gonna drop you off my top 30 list and see what you got.
Joel, what do you think?
So on my radar is Ethan Bosacker. He was out of Xavier. He was actually, the reason I knew about him even pre-draft was he was slated to go to Oklahoma State before he got drafted. But he had a really good year, 96 strikeouts and 124 and 2/3 between Columbia and Quad Cities. The WHIP and ERA and all that got way better at high A, but the strikeout rate dropped pretty precipitously. So that's something to look into. But if he's able to get that strikeout rate back up, I wouldn't even be shocked if they just sent him right to Double A because he almost was too good for the level at high A.
He's old. He's older too, right?
Yeah, he's 20. Yeah, he's 23. So he'll be right at about age for Double A. But again, another guy to kind of keep an eye on. I think a high floor type guy like Zobak. Trevor Warner is off my radar. I was so high on him coming into the year. I thought he was going to be a dude, like a top 10 type guy. Slash 200, 292, 339 with a 35.4% strikeout rate at high A. Like, guys, he struck out 178 times in 503 plate appearances. Yeah. You hate to call a guy's career done at 23, but like, that's not going to work. Like,
that's at all.
Yeah, like it's
Pena.
Man. Yeah, like that. And it absolutely sucks because I thought he could be a guy that could do that.
I was looking up that strikeout rate. Holy smokes, 35%. I have somebody who can outdo that as my off the radar, but Ryan Ramsey's on the radar. 2.4 ERA, 3.16 FIP, about 10 strikeouts per 9 this year in high A. Walk rate cut in half, 4 home runs allowed in 89 innings, 50-50 starter bullpen kind of, but more out of the rotation as of late. Then Shervyen Newton, who was brought over in the Rule 5 minor league portion in 22. Strikeouts were the big question for him. He wasn't necessarily on my radar in a big way, but I was just interested to see if he'd ever do anything. And he did strike out 42% of the time in just 16 games with Double A. They sent him up instead of down, and we're hoping that could do something, and it absolutely did not. So that is it for me. I'm also going to snake this again. Chase Isbell, not ranked on Pipeline, but turns 24 this week, I believe, on Thursday. So happy early birthday to him. Pitched only 3 innings in 2023. In A-ball this year, ERA below 1, got promoted. 4.5 ERA, 4.16 FIP, used exclusively as a reliever. Again, in high A, 31 strikeouts to 9 walks. So nothing crazy, but combine that with how he started, and I think the trajectory for him, and he's on my radar. And then Eric Torres, hard to do that to someone who turns 20 in December, especially with a 96 WRC plus in 115 games this year, but maintained the double-digit walk rate and strikeout rate, but man, no power at all whatsoever. That was already the case. It's gotten worse. So he has temporarily at least fallen off my radar. Josh, what you got?
I got Austin Charles on my radar. I kind of came in disrespecting him a little bit, but he has turned my head, so I'm in on Austin Charles. Off my radar is Derlin Figueroa. Kind of had a hope that he would turn into a big guy, but hasn't quite lived up to that, especially for the corner infield, corner outfield position that he plays. So let's see what he's got next year and where we go for there. Still plenty of time, 20 years old, so we'll see.
On my radar, Callan Moss. I mentioned him last week at UDFA from a small school in Florida. 183 WRC plus in 80 play appearances. Small sample, but a really high walk rate and a low strikeout rate for being a pretty big dude, first base only type. Just someone to keep an eye on for next year. I bet he'll go back to Columbia, but if he keeps hitting like that, it'll be really fun. Off my radar, at least for now, Blake Walters, really, really disappointing. 46 strikeouts, 55 and 2/3. He went on the development list like a month ago. I was super high on him. I thought he was good. I stuck my chest out and said I thought he could be the top prospect in the system by midseason, and he completely flopped. So not out on him. He's 19 years old, not the end of the world, but a very inauspicious start to him starting his pro career.
It's a fun name or a fun word, inauspicious.
That's a good one. Let's do a toast game. We didn't get to do that last week because it was looking rough, but back in full force. And Josh, we'll start with you.
Just the listeners who attended the KCSN golf tournament. I was unable to with an illness, but I was planning on being there, wasn't able to. But shout out to all the listeners and viewers that made it out there, and really, really appreciate you guys supporting the KCSN charity that we've got going on as well. And always, like, anybody who's watching us, listening to us, spending any time with us whatsoever, obviously we appreciate that. Always happy to be here and hope you guys enjoy it. Enjoy it enough to leave a 5-star review. Enjoy it enough to be liking and subscribe to it. Shout out to YouTube. But it's we really do this just because we really, really like to. But the fact that you guys are also here with us is just made it all the better. So shout out to you guys, Toast Game, to all the KCSN listeners.
To hop onto that really quick, we are over 400 subscribers on YouTube for this, so we're appreciate you guys. Let's try and get to 500 by the time the playoffs roll around. Do you think let's try and hammer that? Let's do it.
Okay,
I dig it.
I want a toast game Salvador Perez. I know we've done it a lot on this show, but he was named the Roberto Clemente Award nominee. It's the equivalent of the Walter Payton Award, if you're familiar on the NFL side. Couldn't think of a more deserving guy for what he has meant to the city and into his home country in Venezuela as well. Just an incredible guy. He went on MLB Central, I believe it was on Monday. Go check out the content there. It was really great. Him talking about being nominated and what it meant to him. So be sure to go check that out. So, toast to Salvi, our captain, for being the Award nominated. El Capitan.
My toast game for everyone that is still on the Royals bandwagon after last week. It was a rough one on Twitter. I know that people were not happy, but better days were indeed and are indeed ahead. So thank you to anyone who jumped in on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Leave a review, leave a like, leave a comment on the KCSN hotline, 913-407-6524. All that good stuff. We genuinely appreciate you checking out this week's show, and we'll be back next Tuesday. So until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll talk next time.